Tax sale investing with 500 bucks or less. It's a question that I get asked from time to time from new investors on very tight budgets. They say, Casey, what would you do if you had to start all over again with only $500, zero connections, and no knowledge of this business? Now, if you do not know who I am, my name is Casey Dimon. I've been in this business for more than 22 years. I've done thousands of deals. I've built an entire business around this. My entire adult life has been spent investing in tax liens and tax deeds. And I've also taught people from all over the world how to do the same. But I did not start with deep pockets. I didn't have a big network of connections or any special connections at all. And I didn't know what I was doing. So this question kind of hits home. If I had to wipe the slate clean and start fresh with just 500 bucks and nobody to call for help, here's exactly what I would do. Step one, learn. There's no exceptions whatsoever to this. I'm going to be very, very clear with you. If I had $500, I would not spend a single dollar on a property until I knew exactly what I was doing. With $500, you have no room for error. You have zero margin, zero buffer to make mistakes. There is zero budget for learning lessons the hard way. If you lose it, you're done. So the first step has to be education. It means investing your time. Watch YouTube videos like I offer. Listen to my podcast. Read through the county websites. Grab my book. Study how tax sales work. Learn how the laws vary from one state to the next. What makes a property valuable? What makes a property worthless? Identify potential pitfalls. All the things tax sale investing you need to learn. And you can generally do this on your own time, at your own pace. You can take as long as you want to, but really get this down. There's no reason to rush through this. Now, yes, I'm biased. This is the reason I created the Tax Sale Academy, because I had zero help when I got started and I lost a lot of money. I had lots and lots of issues, which I write about in Tax Sale Playbook, because I skipped the first step, which is to learn. So I learned by doing, which is probably the worst thing you can do. At least it's the most expensive thing you can do, and it costs you a lot of stress and a lot of time. So first, take the time to learn. You do not get a second shot, however, when you only have $500 to start with. So that's not an option if you have 500 bucks or less. So phase one, learn, and learn some more. Take notes, build a process, get comfortable with the business. This step is absolutely foundational. You screw this up, game over. All right, on to step two. Once I've taken the time to educate myself, I need to remind myself of something very important. I only have 500 bucks. 500 bucks does limit your opportunities substantially. And that's not meant to be discouraging. It's meant to more or less be empowering, because it allows you to set clear limitations on what you can and cannot purchase. You can plan strategically. You're not chasing $50,000 houses. There's no reason to spend 10 hours researching a house that you can't afford. You are not going to be bidding in super competitive areas. You're not flipping entire neighborhoods. You're not flipping old schools, commercial properties, and you're probably not even going to flip a house. Instead, you should be super focused on what you can afford. You are lean at this point, and you need to know how to maximize your return on every single dollar. This awareness will help you avoid distractions. It will help you limit your time researching properties that you can't afford. You're not trying to do it all right now. You're doing what is possible based on where you are currently in your business. Number three, we're talking about strategy. If I'm starting over with 500 bucks, I'm not buying a house. I'm not going to buy liens in premium states that have bidding wars. What I'm doing is I'm going to be targeting vacant land. I'm going to become an expert in vacant land in the areas that I am investing in. Specifically, the really, really cheap ones, often in very rural areas or small counties that a lot of investors will overlook, where there is an abundance of vacant land. High supply, low demand, that's okay, because that's what you have to work with. Now, are there other strategies that you could use? Absolutely, but this is what I personally would do because it's very simple, low maintenance, low cost, low risk. The beauty of land, you don't have to rehab it. You don't have to deal with tenants or repairs. You don't have to worry about unexpected costs that will pop up. Diligence is much easier. You don't have to worry about a structure. And most importantly, it's cheap. It's within my budget of $500 or less. Which brings me to the next objection that I hear all the time. But Casey, you can't buy anything for $500. Yes, you can. You mean that you can't buy anything for $500 in the area that you have looked at so far. I'm going to give you an example. Right before I press the record button to record this episode, I timed myself. In 70 seconds, browsing OTC property lists from a few lesser known, lesser populated counties, guess what I found? I found 4 different counties with properties available right now for under $500. Now, I didn't total up all of them, but I would probably say it was between 25 and 30 properties. Less than $500, you can go online and buy right this very second. Now, these aren't glamorous properties. They're likely in places that you personally do not want to live. They're surrounded by vast forest lands or desert lands in many cases, but that doesn't matter. The point is they exist. You would be amazed at how many are out there if you took the time to look in the right places. And I'm not here to do that research for you. I'm not here to say go to these counties and go to these states. That's effort that you need to put in. The key is stop trying to find $500 properties in the hottest zip codes in the country. You're not going to find a $500 piece of real estate that is usable in Miami, Dallas, or any other major cities. Broaden your search. There are over 3,000 counties in the United States, and hundreds of them have tax deeds or tax lien systems with very, very low entry points. You have got to be willing to dig. You know, somebody starting off with $10 million, they have options, but they might not have time. You starting off with $500 or less, you don't have the capital to go out that provides lots of opportunities, but you do, hopefully, have the time and you're willing to put forth the effort to maximize the capital that you do have. Outside of learning, this is the key. Dig, 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 and you will find those properties. Number 4, once I have found a few potential properties, I'm not going to just rush into buying them just because they're cheap. Remember, cheap to buy does not mean cheap to own, does not mean profitable to sell. First off, you only have $500. You can't make a mistake. You can't buy the wrong property. You also need to be strategic. What I do personally, I would locate properties and then I would begin to advertise them before I even buy them. Let me be very clear. I'm not selling anything that I don't own. I'm not advertising anything that I don't own. I'm not trying to scam the marketplace. I'm not doing anything illegal or unethical. I'm simply gauging market interest. And it might look at like something very, very simple. Maybe a Facebook land buying group or a local real estate group. I'll pop in, I'll say, hey, I've seen some lots in this county around $1,000. Is anybody out there interested in that type of property right now? Or is anybody buying in that area right now? Just to gauge the interest a little bit. This gives me the idea if there is a market whatsoever for the properties that I am looking at potentially purchasing. Now, if I get responses and people say, yes, I want it, or send me info, whatever else it is, that's a very good sign. On the flip side, if nobody responds, it tells me that that particular area might not be worth pursuing, or I need to keep pushing forward with this market research approach by going into different groups, maybe different platforms, that kind of thing. And of course, again, you're not limited to Facebook. That's just an idea. There's thousands of different websites that you can use to gauge interest. It's all in how much effort you are willing to put in. And again, with a low amount of capital to start off with, $500 or less, you have to be willing to put in the time. So that's kind of a pre-sale market testing that really is gold when you use it correctly, and it can really help leverage your budget when you are starting on a shoestring budget. All right, if I find that a cheap lot checks out, meaning it's usable, somewhat desirable, and I've gauged interest from multiple potential buyers, That means multiple people have said, yes, I want that property, not just some bozo that said, yes, I want to buy everything cheap, and he disappears off the face of the earth. But if you have all those things combined, that is when I would spend my $500. At that point, you can buy that property confidently, knowing it is likely to be resellable. Then I'd turn right around, I would contact those buyers and say, hey, this is the property that I have. Sorry it took me a week or 2 weeks or whatever to respond to you. Are you still interested at this price? But alongside me contacting those buyers, I would also go ahead and I would advertise that property every single place I possibly could. I would say $1,200 lots, $1,500 lots, whatever you're trying to resell them for. I would go everywhere you could. I'd put ads up. I'd put posts up to try to advertise that property. Now, this does two things. Obviously, it sells the first lot, which gets your capital rolling. But secondly, it allows you to begin to build your buyer's list. Because you're going to have people, hopefully, if you did everything correctly, that will contact you and say, yes, I want that property. And you can respond, I'm so sorry, somebody just purchased it, but can I let you know about properties just like this one in the future? And I guarantee you, most of them will say yes, at which point you're starting to build your buyer's list. And hopefully you kind of see the theme that I am working towards. Because when you do this, when you do everything correctly, and you buy properties cheap, you resell them at pretty cheap prices, but you're still making money, you can get to the point where you almost create an on-demand income stream for yourself if you build your buyer's list correctly. And of course, when you do sell these properties, the cheap ones, you're usually doing it through a quit claim deed without any title insurance. And the buyer will usually be pretty happy with because they're getting property very, very cheap themselves. Now, that first deal, again, might not make you rich, but it's going to help you get started. It turns that $500 into $1,000 and maybe 10, 15 potential buyers for future properties. So now you have momentum. Now you have confidence. Now you have a success story that you can lean back on. Now you have something that you can leverage. From there, rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Is it easy? Eventually it is, but at first, no, because it's different, right? Because you really have to make that $500 be invested as strategically as possible. Now, it takes time to build the skills to identify the best deals. I completely agree with that. It takes effort to scour county lists and find the ones that have the most potential. I agree with that. You are also going to hit friction. Hopefully, you understand and you agree with that. And that friction a lot of times is going to slow people down. But once you've done it a few times, it becomes second nature. You start to see patterns. You'll get faster. You'll get more efficient. You'll start spotting the deals that other people miss. The secret to this business is the same as the secret to most things that are worth doing. You push through the hard part. You stick with it. You don't give up because the first few counties don't have anything. And you don't get discouraged because somebody on Facebook said, I don't want your cheap lot and it's a scam or whatever else. You keep pushing forward. Keep building that momentum. Put your head down and keep going. All right, I want to leave you with this. If you're starting with $500, no connections, no knowledge, this is your very first video that you've ever seen about tax sale investing, you're not alone. There's plenty of others just like you. That's how many successful investors got started. What matters most is your mindset, though. Are you willing to learn before you dive head first? Are you willing to work harder than the next person? Can you think creatively? Can you think strategically? And can you keep going even when the progress feels like it is very, very slow? Whether you start with $500 or $1 million, at the end of the day, it's those things that matter. It's not how much money you have in your bank account to get started. Sure, you have more options with more money, but when you look back at the most successful investors, it's not how much money they started with. It is their mindset. It's their approach to this business. And I guarantee you, if you approach it correctly, you will see massive, massive success. Do not focus on what you don't have. Focus on what you can do right now, what you do have. Listen, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed this episode or any of the other episodes we have here on the Tax Sale Podcast, please do me a massive favor. It's going to take just a second out of your day. Hit that thumbs up button, that 5-star review, or if you want to take a few more seconds to leave us some positive feedback comments, it would certainly help us out in the algorithm world and might just serve to help pay it forward to somebody who learns about this business simply because you took a few seconds out of your day to leave that comment or that 5-star review. For more information on the tax sale business, make sure you check out taxsaltacademy.com. Hopefully, if you've been wondering how to start with just $500 and no network, no connections, no knowledge, this episode has provided you some clarity and the confidence to get moving. Thank you so much for joining me, and make it a successful day. We'll see you next time right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Bye-bye.